Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Tanush Bansal, General Manager of Product Marketing for Azure. I'm an Indian-American male in black sweater and blue jeans, wearing some really cool glasses.
Hi, I am Ashish Pabbar, Director of Program Management in Azure. I am an Indian male wearing a blue shirt, and I'm standing here in Microsoft Studio.
Thank you, Ashish. So today we want to share how you can accelerate your cloud migration and modernization journey with Azure. Now, we understand that this journey can be complex to navigate, and that is why in this session today, we'll walk you through various cloud adoption scenarios and best practices, guidance, tools, and programs offered by Azure, so you can move to the cloud with confidence. Let's get started. In 2020, we saw customers responding to their immediate needs triggered by the pandemic. Remote work, rapid solutions to maintain business continuity, and of course, safety and well-being of their employees and their customers. Now, fast forward to 2021, customers are looking to chart their recovery path, and in many cases are looking at reimagining how they do business, enabling hybrid work, adopting and meeting needs of their customers, which are also changing in this new environment every day. We are now seeing customers across industries and segments doubling down on cloud and accelerating their cloud migration and modernization initiatives from before the pandemic. Many surveys have shown that customers are accelerating their cloud momentum. For example, 90% of organizations mention they expect their cloud usage to exceed their prior plans before the pandemic. And more than 70% are more rapidly transforming as in accelerating their business plans. So what drives customers to consider a move to the cloud? First, remote work has been a big trigger to move over the last 18 months. But here's some additional migration triggers that we see often. Data center contract expiry, or moving from a fixed CapEx model that requires upfront investment to pay-as-you-go OpEx-based model to optimize cash flows. Many cases, increasing cyber threats, they put pressure on customers to improve security posture by moving to the cloud. Now let's talk about the modernization triggers. Rapidly scaling applications on demand by using cloud-native technologies like containers and microservices for cost optimization. Or accelerate development velocity, which in turn increases time to market. And of course, app innovation to leverage technologies such as analytics and AI that improve customer experience and also help garner new business insights. So here are the top reasons why we are seeing customers moving to Azure. Number one, enterprise-grade infrastructure for less. More than 60 regions provide you resilience, along with functionality such as auto-managed VMs for Windows Server and SQL Server, make the job of managing and operating your infrastructure easier. Combine that with offers like Azure Hybrid Benefit that give you cost advantage that can be 5 times better than our other cloud competitors such as AWS. Number two, you can innovate faster with a fully managed platform to modernize your applications and data. Functionalities such as Azure SQL, our app service, Azure Kubernetes Service or AKS, all of them help you do your work, focus on innovation versus spending your time managing your applications. Number three, you can protect your valuable assets with trusted cloud security, built-in compliance backed by AI-based intelligence, along with services such as Azure Defender and Azure Security Center. Number four, we understand that many of our customers may be in on-premises environment as well as in the cloud for the foreseeable future. And that's why we have invested in innovations such as Azure Arc to allow you that hybrid flexibility and govern your assets consistently across hybrid environments as you move to the cloud on your terms. And lastly, along with all of that investment, we offer comprehensive programs like Azure Migration and Modernization Program, or AMMP, to help you move to the cloud with confidence. Thousands of customers have used this program successfully, and we'll talk about them much more later in the session. But let's now listen in to some of these customers about their journey to Azure.
We're really passionate about what we do at Leicester. We were trying to enable a digital strategy in a matter of weeks, months, rather than the years. It's actually quite an emotional moment because you realise you really are changing people's lives.
We realised that we will benefit from moving to Azure. The total cost of ownership has gone down 30%. The DR time has gone down from 30 days to a couple of hours.
This program allows us to future-proof our business in such a way that we're now OpEx focused as opposed to CapEx focused.
With the lift and shift and the best practices from the AMMP program, we were able to migrate our infrastructure entirely onto Azure. And the great thing is that we can do this at our own pace.
Microsoft AMP program, the FastTrack program were fantastic and really were very essential to help us get this very challenging project done on time and on budget.
When the pandemic struck, we lost up to 90% of our passengers going through our airports. We needed to do drastic things to start making savings. The savings that we do by lifting to the cloud is around 40% per server.
Now, when you are adopting cloud, you have three main options to choose from. First option is to lift and shift your existing apps, data, and infrastructure into cloud IaaS offerings. This is usually the fastest way because it involves minimal changes to your apps and still gets you the benefits like shift from CapEx to OpEx model and cloud scale. Second option is to modernize your apps using containers or managed cloud services. Managed cloud services manage the underlying infrastructure so that you can focus on innovation and get faster time to market. Third option is building apps using cloud-native technologies such as serverless functions, containers, and app services. This way, you can take full advantage of the power of cloud to achieve scalability and resiliency and get benefits like faster time to market and increased developer velocity. Let's dig deeper into each of these choices. Let's start with the first option to migrate your workloads to cloud infrastructure as a service offerings. Azure provides you the best infrastructure for all your workloads. For Microsoft workloads, including Windows Server and SQL Server, Azure gives you the lowest total cost of ownership with Azure Hybrid Benefit and free extended security updates. Linux workloads and OSS database are the fastest growing on Azure, with more than half of the Azure VMs running Linux. And Azure is the only cloud that offers integrated support with Red Hat and SUSE. Azure also supports a wide range of specialized workloads such as SAP, VMware, Oracle, NetApp, and Cray. Azure Virtual Desktop enables secure remote work from anywhere with easy setup, seamless experience via integration with Azure Active Directory and Teams. And it offers the best Windows 10 multi-session experience. Now let me walk you through a customer example of Imperial College London. During the COVID-19 lockdown, Imperial had to provide 20,000 students remote classes and access to 450 proprietary apps installed on 3,500 on-campus computers. They knew their remote desktop gateway is not going to scale to such numbers. Now, Imperial used Azure Virtual Desktop for remote learning and Windows 10 Enterprise Multi-Session for pooling 4 users per VM. This way, they were able to meet the demand and reduce the cost. Like Imperial College, we have thousands of customers who have migrated their workloads to Azure. To make your migrations fast and seamless, we have built Azure Migrate. Azure Migrate is the central hub for all your data center migration and modernization needs across infrastructure, applications, and databases. It helps you discover and assess your entire data center and evaluate your readiness for migration. It also shows you the cost estimates and right-sizing recommendations so you can make cost-efficient decisions. There are many capabilities recently added to Azure Migrate for faster decision-making and quicker migrations. For instance, we recently announced public preview of unified discovery and assessment of Azure SQL Server. With this feature, you can quickly understand your readiness for migrating to Azure SQL and determining the Azure SQL deployment option which is best suited for your needs. With agentless dependency mapping, you can quickly get to software inventory and dependency mapping across all discovered servers without having to deploy an agent on every server. Additionally, you can now batch up to 500 VMware VMs for a migration. Now, you might not be ready to move all of your workloads yet, and we know that hybrid and multi-cloud is a reality for our customers, for at least the near future. The key question we often hear from customers with hybrid and multi-cloud environments is how to govern, operate, and ensure security across disparate environments. Now, Microsoft Azure has been designed with hybrid in mind, and Azure Arc helps you meet these challenges. Let's see an example. Let's say you have a hybrid environment with 75 VMs on Azure and 25 on-premises. The 75 VMs on Azure can be governed, managed, and secured with Azure services. You can onboard the 25 on-premises VMs to Azure Arc using the same tool you used for migration, that is Azure Migrate. With this, Azure Arc enables a single control plane to consistently govern, manage, and secure all workloads on-premises, on Azure, with Azure services like Azure Policy, Azure Monitor, and Azure Security. And whenever you're ready, you can migrate more servers to Azure with Azure Migrate. Now, let's talk about the modernization scenarios and go over your options to modernize with containers, PaaS, or low-code. Let me start by highlighting why Azure is the platform of choice for app modernization. With GitHub, Visual Studio, and Power Apps, Azure provides the most comprehensive development toolchain. Using our low-code platforms, developers and power users save up to 74% in development time. We offer fully managed app services, managed SQL, and open source databases with up to 5.9 SLAs. These enable customers to focus on their apps without worrying about the underlying infrastructure. Whether you have an app on .NET, Java, Python, or any other language or framework, Azure provides you a gamut of options to modernize your apps. If you want the portability benefit of containers, you can containerize your apps and run them on Azure Kubernetes Service or on Azure Red Hat OpenShift. If you want to get more productivity, you can run your apps on managed services like Azure App Services or Azure Spring Cloud. And for some line of business app that can be templatized, you can build them faster with less code and at a lower cost by using low-code application developments like Power Apps on Azure. And if you have Kubernetes clusters on premises, you can consistently manage them with Azure Arc-enabled Kubernetes. Every application has a database attached to it, and modernizing that database is critical to the performance of the application. Azure offers a gamut of options for modernizing both SQL and open source databases. For SQL databases, you can use Azure SQL, which is a family of fully managed, secure, and intelligent SQL database services like Azure SQL Database and Azure SQL Managed Instance. Similarly, we have fully managed offerings for open source databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB as well. And like with app modernization, you can use Azure Arc-enabled data services to manage your databases consistently in hybrid environments. Let me now invite Rahul to join us virtually. Rahul is a senior program manager at Microsoft. He will show us a demo of the containerization tool that helps you containerize your apps without any code change. Rahul, take it away.
Thanks, Ashish. We're seeing many of our customers looking to modernize their applications as they migrate them to cloud to achieve important business outcomes such as improved agility, operational efficiency, and security. And they're doing so by migrating them to container platforms like Azure Kubernetes Service and Azure App Service, either by refactoring applications or replatforming them as the first step. With Azure Migrate App Containerization, we provide you an easy way to quickly containerize your ASP.NET applications and Java web applications running on Apache Tomcat by using a point and containerize approach that requires minimum to no code changes. Let's see this in action. I start by discovering my application by connecting to the app server from App Containerization tool. I can inspect discovered application configurations and parameterized configs such as database connection strings to enable consistent, repeatable deployments. I can also customize the folders and directories to package in the container image and specify contents to be externalized to persistent storage. This is very useful in case of stateful applications and for applications that use the local file system for app state or caching. I then review the Docker file that was automatically generated by the tool and can further customize it before building my application's container image. For Java Web Application, I can choose to automatically enable monitoring for my containerized application with Azure Application Insights. After the container image is built and pushed to Azure Container Registry, I can deploy the containerized app to AKS and Azure App Service from within the tool, or plug the generated artifacts into a CI/CD pipeline from where they can be deployed. If you have an ASP.NET application using Windows authentication, very soon, with native GMSS support, you'll be able to containerize and migrate such applications to AKS. As you saw, with Azure Migrate App Containerization tool, I was able to take an existing application, containerize it, and migrate it to Azure to get a modernized version in a few easy steps. The tool gives you a quick and easy way to modernize your applications by replatforming them, and is also great for running quick validation and as a first step before pursuing full-blown refactoring of applications. Go try it out today. Back to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Rahul, for the great demo. Let me give you an example of a customer, AIA Singapore, who modernized their Java apps and underlying database with Azure. AIA is a leader in life insurance and financial services across Asia-Pacific markets. One of their applications is an interactive point-of-sale system, also referred to as IPOS. IPOS allows agents to approve policy applications and get customers covered faster. AIA wanted to improve performance and response time of IPOS, scale to handle unpredictable volumes, and also lower costs. So they decided to move IPOS to Azure. And it's just one of the mission-critical Java apps that they have moved to Azure. Here is their sample architecture. They built a hybrid solution using a range of Azure services and open source components. The solution centered on moving to Apache Tomcat, which opened the door to running on Azure Kubernetes Service. They realized that their on-premise Sybase database will not scale, so they migrated to Azure SQL Managed Instance. Their dependencies on legacy backends are brokered by Azure Service Bus, and their developers use Azure pipelines in a CI/CD workflow to deploy Java web applications. Now, AIA has the most cost-effective, scalable cloud platform, and it continues to migrate more legacy apps to Azure. Talking about app and database modernization, here are some of the new announcements in the Azure application and database services. Customers with Java Enterprise Edition apps can now use automated solution templates to provision production-ready deployments of Oracle WebLogic, IBM WebSphere Liberty, and OpenLiberty on Azure Kubernetes Service and Azure Red Hat OpenShift. Recent investments in Azure SQL Managed Instance enable customers to move their most demanding mission-critical SQL workload to the clouds. For example, the new link feature reimagines database replication by connecting SQL servers hosted anywhere to SQL Managed Instance. Azure is also the best destination for NoSQL and open source databases. And there are many exciting announcements there as well. Now let's talk about the option to build apps using cloud-native technologies such as serverless functions, containers, and app services. Cloud-native applications are built from ground up and optimized for cloud scale and performance. They are based on microservices architectures, use managed services, and take advantage of continuous delivery to achieve reliability and faster time to market. Azure provides the building blocks to develop microservice architectures with best-in-class managed services that ensure performance and massive scale. You can increase shipping agility and productivity by using integrated tooling and DevOps services, including GitHub. You can leverage PaaS services to easily build and deploy serverless, microservices, and containerized apps using services such as Azure Kubernetes Service and Azure Functions. You can take advantage of fully managed relational NoSQL, and in-memory databases like Azure Cosmos DB and Azure Database for PostgreSQL. You can use Azure Arc to run your apps anywhere across on-premises, multi-cloud, and edge environments, and benefit from elastic scale, automation, unified management, and industry-leading security. Back to you, Tanuj.
Hey, thank you, Ashish. Ashish and Rahul took us through a bunch of technological innovations that will help you migrate and modernize your infrastructure, your applications, and your data estate. Now, we recognize that along with the technology, our customers are counting on us more than ever to help them move to the cloud quickly and seamlessly. We have a rich mix of guidance, tooling, and program investments to help customers navigate the journey and be successful. The Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework for Azure and the well-architected framework provide proven guidance to help you at each step of your cloud adoption journey. We also have programs such as Azure Migration and Modernization Program and FastTrack for Azure to help customers get the resources and expert help directly from Azure engineers and our certified partners. Let's talk a little bit more about Cloud Adoption Framework, which is a collection of proven best practices to help you in your cloud adoption journey with guidance and support on business aspects that help you create the strategy, align your stakeholders, and develop a multifaceted plan. And then the technical aspects in helping you prepare your cloud environment with Azure landing zones, and eventually migrating or innovating in the cloud. It also includes best practices to continuously evolve your governance and management processes to support your growing cloud footprint. Building on Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework, I'm happy to announce that we have made significant investments in Azure landing zones to help customers successfully prepare their cloud environment for migration and modernization. Now with the Azure Landing Zone Accelerator, you can rapidly prepare a cloud environment with a simple Azure portal-based experience. It delivers a full environment implementation based on a standard architecture and best practices. By now, you might have heard of Azure Migration Program, or AMP, which supported a breadth of infrastructure and data migration needs. Now, as we work with many of you, you ask for our help with modernizing your applications. And based on this feedback, we recently evolved AMP as an AMP to become the Azure Migration and Modernization Program, AMMP, still pronounced as AMP, with the support for app modernization scenarios. The Azure Migration and Modernization Program, AMP, helps simplify and accelerate your cloud adoption journey. We've helped thousands of customers successfully unlock the benefits of cloud with the right mix of expert help and best practices at each step. With AMP, you can leverage prescriptive step-by-step guidance from assessments to planning to eventual deployment. AMP also includes direct assistance from Azure engineers to help your organization move to Azure with confidence. We provide offers and incentives based on your need, such as subsidized services from highly curated and specialized partners, and Azure credits to help offset transition costs as you migrate. AMP also enables you to deliver sustainable outcomes for your company. Our 2020 Environmental Sustainability Report shows you can also achieve up to 93% more energy efficiency and up to 98% more carbon efficiency by moving to the cloud versus on-premises. Now, based on feedback and demand from our customers, we're also excited to announce that AMP is adding support for several new scenarios. SAP, both SAP Lift and Shift and SAP HANA deployments. We're adding hybrid with Azure Arc. Customers have been deploying Azure Arc to workloads that aren't planned or ready to move yet, so we're helping them consistently manage across cloud and on-premises environments. Security. We are excited to announce a deepened focus on security in AMP with deployment assistance for services like Azure Security Center and Azure Defender. We are also extending app modernization scenarios with Azure Red Hat OpenShift, where we are leveraging our strategic partnership with Red Hat and helping customers move their Red Hat OpenShift environment to Azure as part of their app modernization initiative. In addition, we are building new cloud-native apps now together in AMMP. We'll help customers innovate and build these new apps with patterns such as serverless and container or microservices architectures. So, support for SAP is available today, and we will share availability details for some of the other workloads we talked about over coming weeks and months, so stay tuned. Now, I mentioned FastTrack for Azure earlier, and I want to talk a little bit more about this program. FastTrack for Azure is a technical enablement program staffed with Azure engineers who work directly with customers and partners to help them build Azure solutions quickly and confidently. A part of this work centers on supporting application builders and developers step by step from designing, building, deploying, and publishing their solutions. Whether you're coming to Azure from on-premises or building your first Azure application, moving your web applications to SaaS, or modernizing an application, the team has expertise to help for all of those scenarios. So to make this real, I want to share with you an example from a customer named Connecticut, who worked with the FastTrack for Azure team on a SaaS-based managed service on Azure. So Connecticut is a leading active analytics platform. It combines streaming and historical data with location intelligence and machine learning-powered analytics. It's taking advantage of quite a lot of deep technology within our stack. Now, originally, Connecticut developed this for US intelligence community, and they developed it working on top of a virtual machine. Now, over time, Connecticut wanted to offer that as a SaaS solution to their customer. And that's where they started working with our FastTrack team to move toward a SaaS-based managed offering in the cloud and to reach customers of all types, along with convenience and TCO benefits. So they re-architected their solution from VMs to a SaaS solution with design and deployment help from FastTrack for Azure team, and accelerated and, in fact, removed risk from their transformation. So Connecticut is now a new SaaS solution and is available, transactable on Azure Marketplace, ready for you to purchase. So let me leave you with some resources to get you started. Start learning more with Azure Migration and Modernization Center. If you're looking for things like why should I move to Azure, how should I move to Azure, or what and when should I move, you'll get all that information there. Sign up for Assistant with Azure Migration and Modernization program. And lastly, if you're interested in playing around and assessing and moving your workloads, you can also do that with Azure Migrate. I also want to share with you a few other activities happening this week that I highly recommend you join. So first, if you have any questions for us, please join us in our Ask the Expert session. You can also listen to our on-demand sessions on how to build SaaS solutions and get expert help from Azure engineers via FastTrack for Azure. Now, if you'd like to discuss your individual developer or app architecture and get one-on-one guidance from Azure engineers, you can also schedule a consult with us with FastTrack for Azure team. Now with that, thank you for joining us. Thanks for giving us your time, and we wish you a wonderful Ignite.